It's actually hit all-time highs in many, many different currencies already. I think the dollar, the euro, maybe the pound and the Hong Kong dollar are just a few where it has not already hit all-time highs. Earlier this morning, it crossed 9 million Japanese yen, and some of our Japanese colleagues were excited about that. And so there's a lot of euphoria out there right now for Bitcoin.
For more in the markets action, let's bring in Jason Lau, Chief Innovation Officer at OKX. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Jason, it makes sense to me that Bitcoin is skyrocketing these days, given the ETFs and, the overall sentiment around it. Just this morning, it crossed $60,000, and we'll surely come back to that later. But what do you attribute this recent rally in ETH to? It came a bit sudden this week, and I've heard several different opinions as to why, but I'm curious to hear yours.
Yeah, ETH has obviously been the second likely candidate for a potential ETF. I was just in Asia recently, and the ETF chatter, I think some of the second order effects and the reverberations internationally have been a little bit understated. The Bitcoin ETF certainly opened the doors and opened the eyes to many that there are going to be more assets to come. And institutions globally are positioning themselves for that potential ETH ETF, excuse me. I don't know if that's specifically why ETH is rallying, but it has been underperforming Bitcoin slightly. So it's good to see it catch up.
So, Jason, we've seen this recent rally in Bitcoin and like we just talked about in ETH as well. Would you say ETH and Bitcoin are still intertwined?
Yes, certainly. I think people are viewing the crypto asset uh, space as a whole right now. A lot of the spillover effects from the Bitcoin ETF, are rolling over to altcoins and ETH. There is also a lot of activity happening on a wide variety of these networks. Ethereum is having a big conference in Denver over the next couple of days. There's going to be surely going to be a lot of chatter about network upgrades and new protocols and developments. We've also seen Solana have a earlier run up in price, but also real expansion in sort of network activity and active users. And so I think the enthusiasm for crypto as a whole is something that we're definitely noticing.
So, I want to ask you about the Dencun upgrade, which is coming on March 12th, which, broadly speaking, is supposed to increase Ethereum's scalability and efficiency, which has been an issue for a long time. How big of an impact on the price of ETH do you expect from that short and long term?
Hard to say short term. I think some of the short term price factors are driven mostly by institutions positioning themselves ahead of a potential ETF. However, for the upgrade, the Dencun upgrade, I think it will usher in a more medium-term scalability solution. It's expected to reduce fees for layer 2 networks by up to 90%. I think that's very significant for users as they explore all these new apps and layer 2s out there.
Just because you mentioned Solana briefly, I've heard people say there's an altcoin season coming up. Do you agree with that statement? And if so, why are people saying that?
We're seeing altcoin season start in quite a few places, actually. Solana, like you mentioned, is one. We've also seen quite a lot of activity in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And by that, I mean Bitcoin layer 2s and Bitcoin BRC tokens, as well as stacks, I think, as part of that. I think there's been quite a lot of activity over in that ecosystem in particular. And this stems on the back of the Bitcoin price action, but also the expansion of developer interest in Bitcoin over the past 6 to 9 months as a result of ordinals and inscriptions. It's something that we support on our OKX wallet, our self-custodial wallet, and the activity there has been quite tremendous.
Going back to Bitcoin for a second, as I mentioned earlier, it hit $60,000 this morning, which means we're getting really close to the all-time high of almost 69,000. When do you see a correction happening here, and how severe do you expect it to be?
I'm excited that I'm your first guest after Bitcoin hit $60,000. And it's actually hit all-time highs in many, many different currencies already. I think the dollar, the euro, maybe the pound and the Hong Kong dollar are just a few where it has not already hit all-time highs. Earlier this morning, it crossed 9 million Japanese yen, and some of our Japanese colleagues were excited about that. And so there's a lot of euphoria out there right now for Bitcoin. A pullback certainly is within realm. However, I think if you zoom out, the positives of the adoption, awareness of Bitcoin, and again, like some of these second order effects that I talked about from the Bitcoin ETF are still playing out. I think it's going to be quite positive for Bitcoin price in the probably still short term and into medium term. Um, but a pullback would not be surprising.
Are you headed to ETH Denver this year?
Yes, I am, and a whole bunch of our team is going to be there. We're very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm certainly jealous. What are you most excited about? What do you think people are gonna talk about? What do you think is gonna stick out this year?
ETH Denver, to me, has always had this developer quirky angle to it. It's a fun place to just kind of catch up on the vibes of the crypto ecosystem. We're going to be hosting an event. We're going to be joined by some of our friends from Solana and Uniswap. We've got some announcements there. There's also going to be talk about network upgrades, right? Dencun is one of them that you mentioned earlier. But broadly, it's just going to be a good time, especially with enthusiasm and awareness of crypto at sort of recent highs.
All right. Thank you for your insights, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
That was Jason Lau, Chief Innovation Officer at OKX. That's it for today's show.